Well, USCIS finally released the dates for the H-1B lottery for the 2026 cycle, which is actually the one that's this year in 2025. And the registration will be open from March 7th through March 24th. So that's the window when employers need to register anybody that they might want to get an H-1B for in the petition year that starts October 1, 2025. Who should you think about putting into the lottery? I would first look at whether you have anybody on payroll who has OPT or STEM OPT. So those would be people who graduated from American colleges and graduate programs that have a temporary work authorization. They're actually still in F1 student status, but they would need to get into H-1B if they're going to stay long-term beyond that temporary work authorization they can get as graduates of a U.S. school. What's new this year? Well, the rule is new that codifies some of the things that have been implemented in previous cycles. But one thing that's still pretty new is it's beneficiary-centric in the lottery. That means that one person gets one spot in the lottery, no matter how many different companies put in a registration. So if somebody is really great at interviewing and they get 10 offers and 10 different companies put in a registration for the same candidate, if that candidate gets selected, that person can say, okay, I want company A to file a petition for me. Maybe they'll say company A and company B. It's a little unclear what happens if somebody says yes and more than one company petitions, but it is something that is worth checking with your candidate. So if you, as the employer, have an employee selected, before you go ahead and file the petition, even though they're not a signatory of it, make sure they still want to do it. Make sure they still intend to come work for you because they could, even without your knowledge, have another opportunity, another H-1B sponsor. That's not common that people have multiple sponsors. In fact, this beneficiary-centric process was the result of some small minority of the H-1B candidates kind of gaming the system by having companies put in multiple, sometimes related companies, each put in an entry to the lottery, the same person. So there was just that short gap of time. We used to file a full paper petition with all the filing checks, with all the signature pages, everything as the lottery entry. It was a full petition. We switched a couple of years ago. Now it's an electronic lottery and it's not a full petition. Each company just puts a registration in and then they find out at the end of March, very beginning of April, if they are invited to file a petition. If they're invited, they get a 90-day window to do it. Now, in recent years, since we've had this electronic system, we do have multiple drawings out of the lottery because the first one, they get 90 days, so they get until the end of June. Then USCIS can assess how many petitions did they get because ultimately not every company that's allowed to file an H-1B petition actually goes forward with it. And a small portion of them may not be approvable. So in the summer, after the end of June, so in July, if there are spots left, they'll take that same group of registrants from the March entries and they'll pull a much smaller number and then give more of them an opportunity to file a petition. And then same thing, they'll have a 90-day window. Sometimes, again, there'll be a few slots left and they'll have another drawing of the same lottery and they'll have 90 days to enter. I've never seen it happen more than 3 draws. Obviously, each one, it gets smaller and smaller. But this surprises a lot of companies. When the lottery results get released in the first drawing to the very beginning of April when you're checking, first of all, very surprising. They don't drop all at once. So if you check and you're like, oh, I got 0, maybe you check 6 hours later or 12 or 24 hours later, you might have some that you didn't have before. It's not instantaneous. Secondly, they don't tell you you're not selected until months and months later because there is that possibility that in a further drawing, you could get selected. So it just sits in sort of a pending status and it's not a no. But as time goes on, it's more and more likely that it's ultimately going to be a no. If you have questions about the lottery, this is the time to figure it out, because after this period of March 7th to March 24th, that's it. That is the only time to get a cap-exempt new H-1B petition going for the whole year. These will be for people to start working October 1, 2025. And if you missed this opportunity, the next one isn't going to come around for another whole year for a start date of October 2026. Good luck.